A job that started on April 15, 1991, with the title of Director of Youth Ministry. In 1993, Director of Education at Youth. In 1996, Director of Faith Development. 2002, Director of Faith Formation. This girl was a ladder climber. 2006, Missioner for Youth and Young Adults. 2008, Canon for Youth and Young Adults of the Diocese of Olympia. But for Canon Hamilton, HYC started a couple of years before she was hired. Back in '89, the 6-day theme was a stumbling block or a stepping stone, and we were at Lake Retreat. It was Nancy Wolf's last 6 days, and Kathy's first as a staff person. She was as uncertain and glassy-eyed as any first-time staffer. But she was a quick learner, because the next year she was appointed as interim director of youth ministries and was tasked with putting together the 1996 day around the theme of standing at the crossroads. I got to think crossroads. Made an interesting time because at one meal we were asked if they were encouraged to wear our crosses. There's an interesting story there that didn't go very well. Then a year later, in April of '91, she was put on the payroll. And the first job was to plan and conduct 6-day in June, where the theme was Hallelujah, Hallelujah. I'd like to stop for a minute. Would anyone here remember those early days? Think for a minute about the time you were in high school. Kind of get it located in your mind. Were any of you here in the kind of the time frame from '89 to '91 as a youth? Show of hands. Oh, there are a few old timers. Are there any here who were staff then? Oh, there's a lot of them. Kathy had this rule. I don't believe that I ever heard it stated openly, but the rule was, if it was important to the young people, it was important to her. And however the planning incorporated any and all portions of that was okay. Father Rick Myers was a part of that. He instituted a thing called the polar bear swing. The next year he left the diocese. No matter, we did it once. It was important. It was established. And from that day forward, it was a tradition. Now, did Kathy ever do a polar bear swim? Does anyone remember seeing her in the water? Huh? Well, does anybody remember seeing her in the water? Well, yes, she did. Once. Back in about 1989 or so, I'm not sure of the date, but she did hit the cool waters of Lake Retreat, just like the rest. In '92, the theme was more than words. In '93, the theme was express yourself. In '94, the theme for 6-day was this little light of mine. In '95, we worked around the theme inside out. Now, sometime in this time frame, we moved from Lake Retreat to Camp Huston. Many good memories from there. One of the top 10 memories from Camp Huston was the food. The mush that you did not eat in the morning was fried and served as pancakes for lunch. The following year, in 1966, the theme was Lord of the Dance. And each small group wrote a new verse to that tune. Turned out pretty good. And when it came closing, we sang with gusto. Now think about it. Where were you in high school with respect to 92 to 96? Anybody in that 92 to 96 time frame? Okay, keep your hands up. I'd like for Kathy to be able to locate you. Okay. How many were staff in those years? I know some of those old timers. Yeah. Kathy could never say no. At least not outright no. It was the same thing with the young people and staff alike. Events were planned and carried out by what she did not say. But you always knew if what you were suggesting was going to fly with her. We all came to know. I suspect the look was probably home to perfection on Mickey and Katrina. A look came when we approached the boundaries, and we didn't need to hear directly that it all took place. And I don't think we were necessarily intimidated or afraid to hear from her. It was more like terrified. In 97, the theme was Create in Me. In 98, the theme was, now listen close to this, Walk in the rain and the sun will shine. Walk in the rain, R-E-I-G-M, and the S-O-N will shine. Pretty cool, huh? The themes now come from brainstorming sessions at D House each year done by the Youth Council. The council struggled, like they usually do, for an hour or two, and all manner of ideas with one. And when one youth really kind of came and put this rain and sun will shine all together, it was like a light went on in the room, and consensus sort of rolled across the room like a tidal wave. In 1999, the theme was I love you this much. And in 2000, the theme was God's Garden. Now that's the year we planted trees here at Camp Huston. They're still there. Bill, is that right? Those trees are still there? How tall are they now?
15, 20 feet.
Okay. They're not little, and there's no growing. Trees would kind of want to do that. In 2001, the theme was Keeping the Faith. Now again, where were you in high school with respect to the years of 97 and 2001? Were you in high school? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, oh yeah, okay. They're around. They're around. Kathy, these are your young people. Looking back at you, holding their children. In 2002, the theme was Faces of God. In 2003, when the theme was God's Rainbow, we played a game that had us running around all over camp. The game had clues that all referred to colors of the rainbow. About halfway through the game, the small groups started to figure out that the sequence had to do with the order of the colors in the rainbow. The last half of the game went very quickly. In 2004, we did God Show. And in 2005, the theme was Can You Hear Me Now? Nettie Rivera was consecrated Suffragan Bishop in January of 2005 and was quickly overcome by the intoxicating warmth and acceptance of an HYC community. For the next 5 years, Betty immersed herself in what the young people of this diocese are doing. There was always a staff hunt, the variation on the hide and seek. The staff would go hide, and the young folks would come look for us old folks. Kathy liked to hide in plain view. One year, she dressed as a man in some old clothes that were brought for a game that we were going to play later. With broom and dustpan, she hung around the front porch of the cabins with head down and just kept sweeping and turning away when anyone approached. When everyone else was found and corralled, she wandered over, removed the hat, and the curly locks tumbled out to a course of, oh. Tell me, 2002 and 2005, were you in high school in those? How about staffers?
Too late.
Now, Nettie was with us for 5 years before she was called to other duties. She had built into her DNA a mantra that nothing was going to keep 6th Day from running smoothly. The movie screen was coming apart. The fabric was tearing away from the crossbar at the top. But not to worry. Nettie with a large screwdriver and Kathy with a hammer had the situation in hand. They had the patient stretched out on the floor, face up. The two of them were crawling around on hands and knees, using first the screwdriver, then the hammer. Whatever the repair strategy was, it seemed to keep evolving. I stepped next door and got my toolbox and returned. And still on their hands and knees, it was plain that they did not need my help. Nor wanted it. Now, the repair was accomplished in short order, and the two stood tall and proud next to the screen they had repaired with just a little ingenuity and some duct tape from the toolbox. That screen is somewhere else now. We have a new one.
The other one still works.
In 2006, we had God.com, followed in 2007 by A Long and Winding Road. The Long and Winding Road had us doing a traveling Eucharist and Stations of the Cross down the trails at dusk. The theme for 2008 was Episcopal University. And 2009, we did the Gospel according to Dr. Seuss. Now then there were the Colonel Mustard mysteries which we solved. Over the years, we met an array of characters such as the Bird Lady, Fertile Myrtle, the Tree of Knowledge, and Big Daddy. Kathy and Chuck were usually something like Mr. and Mrs. Wellington Jerome Gottlops III with a candelabra in the middle of their dinner table. In 2009, when the theme was the Gospel according to Dr. Seuss, she was the Cat in the Hat. And when a small group would ask their yes or no question, she would phrase each answer with a rhyme, such as, you asked your question and you really must go. The answer, my friend, is I really don't know. Now, the Colonel Mustard mysteries were not the only game we played. We played Where's Waldo at Camp Huston. Waldo was constantly on the move and kept running around camp, and that tired everyone out. Then there was the year here at Houston that rivaled the popularity of all the games. We played the bench game. Hands down, the worst game ever played. It was so bad, the staff kept threatening to play it again. Tell me, 2006 through 2009, were you in high school then? Hey, who was on staff 2006 to 2009? Cool. In 2010, the theme was Circle of Life. We watched the movie The Lion King and talked our way through many of the growing pains life brings. In 2011, we snuck through the back of the wardrobe and stayed in Nineveh for a week. Last year, 2012, we explored Seasons of Love. If you were present 2010, or if you were in high school from 2010 to present, okay, all right, how about staff 2010 to present? We got some real diehards back here. Now, did I mention traditions? There was never a sick day without a talent show. If there was ever a time to impress the staff, this was the place to do it. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, talent seemed to range from -1 to, good Lord, a +12. The novelty acts included things like cows with guns, and we'd have a visit from the Spice Girls. There were acts that were hastily put together that showed the lack of rehearsal. However, no one was ever booed off the stage. There were some truly amazing things done with musical instruments, vocal offerings, dance routines that received the standing ovation they deserved. Now, while the party-like flavor prevailed, the talent ran deep and instilled awe as the raw talent touched the audience in deep and meaningful ways. We make true offerings of ourselves. And it isn't only the performing arts, but displays of paintings, sculptures, carvings, needlework show the breadth of artistic talent that comes to each 6th day. Voices. There have been so many voices over the years, and hundreds yet to be heard. Charles Smith, who staffed in 96 to 2011, writes, "I'm grateful for the many things God has done for you, particularly the introduction of conference conveners and how you're willing to help leaders grow." Doug Ike, 2004 to 2006, writes, "Kathy, you have been a picture of grace and love for me. I thank you so much for every moment of your time." Allison and Todd Paletto, who are now married with 2 children, write, "We get teary-eyed and really realize what you did for us, and we will be forever grateful." Riley writes, "I remember walking into a HYC the first time as a staff member, and Kathy had the piano all set up ready for me to join the worship band. Every time I got to play with Kathy and Chuck, I was blessed beyond words." Shannon writes, "I will miss your caring, generous spirit, your servant's heart and sense of humor. It has been a joy to work with you and especially to share our friendship over the last 13+ years. I wish you the best in this new season of life." There are hundreds of voices waiting to be heard, who will echo and share a moment which has been kept in a sacred place, held deep within. Now, when a deep sea diver returns to the surface, they do so slowly to keep from developing a condition called the bends. When the 6-day staff has been immersed with each other for a whole week and walked the holy ground of so many lives, they need to decompress before returning to normal life. Hence, the staff after party. They have been known to share a light alcoholic beverage or two. The story is told that while shopping at Safeway one year, Kathy dropped all of her coins in the beer aisle. In frustration, she sat down and started picking them up. Now, the always helpful staff just stood around and savored the end. Years afterwards, while shopping, the staff would throw coins in the beer aisle just for Kathy. Not everything in the past 22 years happened at camp or at an HYC weekend at a church somewhere in the diocese. There's moments at tea house. There was always something to eat at tea house. Kathy hosted the semi-regular luncheons, the fun staff celebrations, and of course the ever-popular Easter egg hunt. There were more than group parties. It was the personal times when going to the storeroom of danger, where it was necessary to use the buddy system. One was not returned in a reasonable time, the other could run for help. There were the walks to Broadway with Shannon and Nora on warm days, where they could all talk at once, not missing a thing the other said. How girls are able to do that is beyond me. And there were those luncheons on the deck at Eastside Grill with a friend who was a really good listener. And there was those plays at the Fifth Avenue Theater with the backstage passes. This has been a frustrating exercise for me to try to summarize 22 years of Kathy's ministry to the diocese. And she hasn't done it alone. She'll be the first to say that she hasn't done it. She's always had a cadre of people. There was always the young people and the staff that would meet. Have you ever served on the council? If you've ever served on the youth council, would you raise your hand? These are the folks that put together the HYCs that we do. And this is where the ideas come from and the work that comes from that sets these things up. You know, there's been a commissioning of 6-day staff with hymns and a hug. There have been the blessing services, the healing services, anointing, baptisms, confirmations, all with their own deep meaning too deep for words. Kathy has shared personal conversation, words of encouragement and hugs when needed. There has been a tear shared on more than one occasion. All those places where the Holy Spirit has used Kathy to bring God's healing touch has kept us all focused and kept us as one body. There are no words, but it is as true as truth can be. From those you have touched, nothing can separate us.
Thank